now entering the zone into the vortex of the information revolution with your host, Mike B.
My name is Michael B., and this is The Truth Zone, coming to you live on this rainy Monday in Texas. Man, it's all things gloomy in the world of Islam. And is it any surprise that it's nothing but bad news when it comes to anything Islam? Well, that's what happens when your daddy is the devil. Nothing good comes out of this. Nothing. So, it's no surprise then that, well, we have what we have. And we have a London terror attack against Muslims by apparently a white right-wing extremist. And the funny thing is that right away the Muslim mayor of London says it was a horrific act of terrorism. Right away, instantly. It's terrorism against the poor Muslims. And what's amazing is that every time that a Muslim commits terrorism against white people, against Christians, non-Christians, could even be, fellow Muslims, we have to wait and make sure that it was terrorism. See, we have to investigate the motives. Even though they're yelling all-night snack bar and praise Allah, we have to wait and have the official investigation. But here, when Muslims are attacked, the authorities already know what's happening. And I find that rather interesting, because shouldn't we treat every instance of terrorism as we must investigate the motive? I mean, how do we know that it was terrorism? Now of course I'm being facetious, but how do we know? What if the brakes failed? What if, the steering column broke? Like, how do we really know it was terrorism? How do we know the person wasn't on Valium or something and fell asleep at the wheel? Or was slipped a drug by accident or on purpose and gave that person insane thoughts and did something he normally wouldn't do? How do we know? How do we know that it wasn't a person, a white person, converted to Islam and then used as a false flag by ISIS to perpetuate right-wing extremism to make those Muslims look like victims? How do we know? But we don't need an investigation. We don't need anything. We know that it's right-wing extremism, and we know that it was a horrific act of terrorism, and I guess now What will the London authorities do? They're going to start rounding people up, who's ever white and who's ever pro-Britain, and whoever wants Muslims deported out of their country. I guess now they're going to be enemy number one. Maybe that's how that's going to work out. So this happened at Finsbury Park. And police, I guess, hold back a furious crowd as they arrest the attacker. And I guess they don't want the plow through in a crowd. Look at it. I love this. In a crowd of good Samaritans. Oh, I see. So they're good Samaritans. So then I guess all these terrorist attacks, I guess it's true. It's just by a very small amount of people, and 98% of them are really good and wholesome, and we have it wrong. I guess so. So the man was 48 years old, and he said, "I'm going to kill all Muslims. I did my bit." And he smiled and waved, and he blew kisses at witnesses. The imam and other worshippers pinned him down and urged them to kill him, but they kept him there until the arrest. Attack slammed as the most violent manifestation of Islamophobia, as Prime Minister called emergency Cobra meeting. Well, what do you call all those Muslim attacks that have taken place in Britain? Do you call that the most violent manifestation of Islamic fundamentalism and the extreme word-for-word following of the Quran, which says to do those things? Is that the most violent? Is that the most violent manifestation? How about non-compliance Quranophobia? How come the Muslims don't have that? What phobia do the Muslims have? That's what I want to know. Do they have phobias? Do they have prejudices against non-Muslims and Muslims who aren't Muslim enough? How come we don't hear that kind of talk? But when a white guy does it, and out of fear and anger, he's seeing his country being overrun. He's seeing it destroyed from within. He's seeing his own government betray its very own people. But he's Islamic phobic. I find that very interesting. That he would be called that. Nowhere in the Christian scriptures does it say to kill anybody. So, what this man did was wrong. We know that. We know that it shouldn't have taken place. But who couldn't see this coming? And quite frankly, I think we're going to see more of it. I'm not saying we should. I'm not saying it's a good thing. But I'm saying that this attack on that mosque was inevitable. And you can be rest assured more of it is to come. I mean, you could just be rest assured of it. Because people have had enough. I'm surprised that there haven't been attacks like this earlier. I'm surprised that the backlash took this long. I'm surprised there isn't stuff like this happening in Britain, France, and Sweden. And who's to say it won't? Who's to say that it won't? And again, it's not condoning something like this. It's about the inevitability. The globalists push and push and push, And all I'm seeing on Facebook is, get ready for a civil war, get ready for a civil war, they're pushing it, get ready, 3%ers. This is what it's coming down to. And I was hoping that I wouldn't be alive to see it. But it looks like I'm going to be, and it looks like it's going to be real soon, unfortunately. And perhaps, this is the final call. This is the last call by the globalists, because you know that if there's all-out bedlam in the streets, that opens the door for the governors to send in the National Guard, and then ultimately for the president to declare martial law. You know that is a possible outcome. Then you see the door-to-door confiscations. Then you see the mass arrests. Then you see possible executions, because the feds are overwhelmed. That's when you see it. And that's when you see the suspension of state and county and town government. That's where you see it shut down, suspended. And then you have nothing left but federal takeover and the worst kind of totalitarianism that, you think you see it now, excuse me, allergies are bad today. Wait till you see it then. But that's the inevitability, because these people are pushing and pushing and pushing. And it's either push back or it's surrender. And either way, we're screwed. Either way, we're screwed. So, we have more action taking place. Here we go again with the United States and its coalition supposedly against ISIS going after Assad. First, it was the shoot from the hip condemnation of the alleged the gas attack wasn't alleged. The alleged accusation that the Assad government gassed their own people, which still, months later, no one has presented to me a plausible motive other than he just wants control of his people. Well, he has more control now than he had last year. He's been gaining control. As we've been told, the ISIS strongholds are shrinking. So that doesn't make sense. He's already gaining control. By gassing his own people, he loses control. So how does it make sense? And why would you alienate the new president of the United States, who has vowed to destroy ISIS? Vowed to do so. Which you would think, even though it's not declared formally, you would still say, if I'm the Syrian president, oh look, it looks like now the United States is really going to be my ally in this, because they're going to take out the ISIS rebels. So, why would I piss off the United States of America? Makes no sense. But we're led to believe that Assad gassed his own people. And now we're being led to believe that Syrian fighter jets, who was going into an ISIS stronghold, We're led to believe that a Syrian government jet fired on a U.S. coalition jet, so it had to be taken down. That's what we're led to believe. Again, makes no sense. I mean, why would you shoot at an aircraft that's helping you defeat a common enemy? You just wouldn't. Makes no sense. And now, of course, Russia, and you really have to understand where they're coming from. Syria is like Russia's only ally, really, in the Middle East. As a matter of fact, Syria has the only port accessible to Russia to do business in that region. They have to protect the Syrian government. They have to. Their own economic well-being depends on it. So now they've issued a warning. U.S.-led coalition's downing of Syrian plane act of aggression and support for terrorists is what Moscow was claiming. And this comes from Infowars.com. Moscow views the U.S.-led coalition's attack on the Syrian government military jet as an act of aggression and assistance for the terrorists that the U.S. is fighting against, according to Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov. What is it then, if not an act of aggression, an act directly in breach of international law? If you want, it's actually help for the terrorists the U.S. is fighting, declaring that they are conducting a counterterrorism policy. And how could you not agree? Ryabkov added that he believed the strike should be first of all regarded as a continuation of the U.S. agenda of neglecting the norms of international law. Regardless of who has power in Washington, people there are used to the fact that there are circumstances allowing them to arrogantly look down on and in some situations to openly ignore the basics of international relations. Well, can we deny that the United States, over the past several decades, no matter who's in office, has been very aggressive, has committed acts of war without the approval of Congress? And we could talk about Bill Clinton and the former Yugoslavia situation. Why not? We can talk about, the Arab Spring business. I mean, all of it. So, how is it that the military generals, and look, the President of the United States is responsible for what they do. How is it that we could go into other countries and just bomb them daily without a formal declaration of war approved by Congress? How is that possible? So, you have to agree. A Syrian Su-22 warplane was shot down by U.S. F-A-18E Super Hornet on Sunday while it was on a mission in the countryside around Raqqa, I guess. Damascus stated that the plane was carrying out operations against Islamic State. Against the terrorists. Of course. Makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, what else would that warplane be doing? You're telling me that the Syrian warplane would say, hey, let's shoot at the U.S. coalition fighting ISIS, the same people we're fighting. Let's do that. How does it make any sense to anybody? Naturally, that Syrian warplane was going after ISIS that took that town. And you would think that the United States jets or Hornets, whoever's around there, would make radio contact and help out. But no. Syria must be against the United States. Syria must be... what's the rationale? The Syrian government is saying that it wants to get rid of ISIS, but is helping ISIS. The United States is saying, we want to get rid of ISIS, but we're going to attack the Syrian government, which only strengthens ISIS? How does that make any sense to a normal, rational human being? Washington says that the Syrian warplane dropped bombs near SDF fighters south of Tabqa and was shot down in accordance with the rules of engagement. Yeah, well, if the United States or its allies in this coalition deal have troops near a town being held by ISIS, well, yeah, they're in jeopardy of anyone dropping bombs on ISIS. That's just how it works. And I just find it interesting. Why hasn't Donald Trump reached out to Bashir Assad and asked for a formal alliance in the fight against ISIS? Why hasn't that been done? Why hasn't Trump called together Putin and Assad and have a three-way pact, a triumvirate, if you will, to fight ISIS in that region? So therefore, if it's necessary, when American warplanes see a Syrian warplane going into an ISIS stronghold, you'd think then they'd automatically make contact, work together, and take care of business. Does that make sense? I think it makes sense. But I guess I must think differently. And of course, Russia now is going to treat U.S. jets in Syria as targets after America guns down first regime warplane. This is coming out of the independent.co.uk. Russia has said it would treat U.S. warplanes operating in parts of Syria where its forces are present as targets amid a diplomatic row caused by the downing of a Syrian jet. The country's defense ministry said the change in position would apply to all aircraft, including those operating as part of the U.S.-backed coalition. It will also suspend a hotline between Russia and the U.S. set up to prevent mid-air collisions. The ministry said in a statement, all kinds of airborne vehicles, including aircraft and UAVs of the international coalition detected to the west of the Euphrates River, will be tracked by the Russian SAM systems as air targets, and that's surface-to-air missiles if you didn't know. The warning followed after a U.S. F-18 Super Hornet shot down a Syrian Army Su-22 jet on Sunday in the countryside southwest of Raqqa, I guess is how you say it. The first such downing of a Syrian jet by the U.S. coalition since the start of the civil war in 2011. Washington said the jet had dropped bombs near U.S.-backed forces. Of course it did. But Damascus said the plane was down by flying a mission against ISIS militants. Makes perfect sense. Russia's defense ministry said the suspension of its communication channel with the Americans would begin immediately. The U.S. Did not use its communication channel with Russia ahead of the downing of the Syrian government warplane. The ministry was quoted as saying, accusing the U.S. of a deliberate failure to make good on its commitments under the deconfliction deal. Quote, the shooting down of a Syrian Air Force jet in Syria's airspace is a cynical violation of Syria's sovereignty. And I have to agree. How would we take it if the roles were reversed? What if Syria came into our airspace and shot down one of our jets? Would we take that as an act of war? I think so. Quote, the U.S. repeated combat operations under the guise of combating terrorism against the legitimate armed forces of a UN member country are a flagrant violation of international law and an actual military aggression against the Syrian Arab Republic. And I have to agree. This is all about regime change. And I thought going in, President Trump said he wasn't for regime change. He wasn't going to continue the Arab Spring policies of Bush and Obama. But, words are words, folks. Actions speak it all. And I think we've got a really big problem, quite frankly. And I think, I was at lunch after church, and I was talking to the restaurant owner about Russiagate and all this stuff. And I said, I think in the next 6 months, I think by the end of the year, I think we're going to get a really clear picture of just how far the corruption and this conspiracy, not against the government, not against the Trump administration. No, Donald Trump is just the figurehead of what we the people wanted in office. This is a conspiracy that has been going on against the American people for at least 100 years. And I really do. I think we're going to find out exactly how high up the conspiracy against the United States people, the American people. I think we're going to find that out, folks. And I just have a feeling that we're not going to like the answers that we're given. I just don't think we're going to like it. So I'm going to conclude with, because quite frankly, I hope you people are hearing me, but my studio looks like it froze after 27 seconds, so I'm not sure if I even did a show. But let's roll off the attacks of this weekend. Starting with, we have one already today, because we know that the Eastern Hemisphere is way ahead of us in time. Patani, Thailand, 6 killed, 4 injured. A brutal roadside bomb attack by Muslim insurgents killed 6 local soldiers. Yesterday, 4 attacks. Egypt, Afghanistan, Mali, and Nigeria. 12 killed, 11 people. This is Nigeria, and we'll work our way down. A dozen people are disassembled by 5 female suicide bombers. That's blown to bits, in other words. Bamako, Mali. 2 killed, 8 injured. Gunmen yelling praises to Allah invade a resort and murder 2 terrorists. Gardez, Afghanistan. 6 killed, 29 injured. A suicide blast kicks off an assault on a police station that leaves 6 dead. Cairo, Egypt. 1 killed, 4 injured. An ISIS-inspired group is thought responsible for a bomb that leaves 1 person dead. The 17th, which was Saturday, was very busy. 6 attacks. Penglana, India, 1 killed. A civilian is cut down outside his home by Muslim militants. Lahale, Somalia, 5 killed, 12 injured. Radicals fighting for a Sharia state attack a military base and murder 5 local troops. Binta Gangao, Mali, 5 killed, 8 injured. Jihadists attack a local security post, killing 5 members. Alamgarh, Afghanistan, 4 killed. 4 construction workers are laid out by Sunni bombers. Tal Afar, Iraq, 5 killed. A family of 5 is exterminated by a Shiite militia. Tawfiq, Somalia, 1 killed. 3 Islamists are identified as being behind the assassination of a rival cleric. And on the 16th, this was after my show, I don't think I reported these. Mosul, Iraq, 5 killed. 5 civilians are captured and strung up by the Islamic State. Jerusalem, Israel, 1 killed, 2 injured. Terrorists carve up a female border guard with knives. How special is that? Akabal, India, 6 are killed. Islamic radicals ambush and murder 6 local troops, then mutilate the bodies. Religion of peace. Mandera, Kenya. This might have been the one I read off. I'm not sure. 4 killed, 11 injured. A bomb planted by Al-Shabaab claims 4 lives. So there's your religion of peace. And like I said, I think this London anti-Muslim terrorist attack, I think it's going to be the first of many. If we don't get our act, if our government leaders are going to continue to allow this influx, I think this is just something that we're going to expect. So, my name is Michael B. This is the Truth Zone. I'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central.